6. Hello, welcome back. We are now doing lesson 2 on surds, and in this lesson we want to express mixed surds as a single surd. Now don't worry about the big words, just now you will see that it is very simple. As a single surd. Let's take an example. Express example 1. Express 5 root 2 as a single surd. In other words, we're doing the reverse of our first lesson. We're doing the reverse of our first lesson. Right, so let's see. We have 5 square root 2. Now, because this is square root, it means 5 is a square root of a certain number. 5 is the square root of 25. So, you write 25 and you put a square root sign on top of it. You see, square root of 25 is 5. So, 5 is replaced here by square root of 25. Now, you may be thinking, well, that's very hard to do, but that's very easy. You see, this is square root. Therefore, simply square 5 and you get 25. I'll repeat. This is a square root sign. Therefore, take 5, square it. 5 times 5, 25. Right? So, I'll say here, square 5. That's the secret. Square 5, you get 25. Place a square root sign on top of it. And now, we are working in reverse. 25 times 2, 50. So that's your answer. You have now expressed the mixed surd as a single surd. Let's do another example, still on square roots. Alright, now I'm not going to write the question down now. Let's suppose you had 3 root 5. Now this is a square root. So all you do, you take 3 and square it. You square 3 because it's square root, you see. Square 3 you get 9. So it's square root of 9 times square root of 5. I don't have to write a multiplication sign here. And then after that, you multiply 9 times 5. You multiply 9 times 5 and you get 45. Let's do another example. And watch this example. You got 2 cube root of 3. Now this time it's cube root. So you must take 2 and you must cube it. You must cube 2. Take the number 2 and cube it. 2 cubed is 8. So this becomes 8 cube root. You see, the cube root of 8 is 2. 2 is the cube root of 8. And here we have cube root 3. Now, once again, multiply this 2. 8 times 3. 8 times 3 gives you 24. So, to summarize, this is what we're saying. We're saying that, look, if it is a square root sign here, square this number. 5 squared, 25. So square root of 25, square root of 2. Both these have to be the same for me to multiply those. 25 times 2, 50. Example 2. 3 root 5. This is square root. Therefore you square 3. 3 squared. 3 times 3, 9. Square root of 9, square root of 5. Multiply these two numbers. 9 times 5, 45. Let's take the next example. And be careful. In this example, it's cube root. So you can't use the same rule like that. It's cube root. Therefore you must take 2 and cube it. You must cube 2. Cube 2 means 2 times 2 times 2, which gives you 8. 2 cubed means 2 times 2 times 2, which gives you 8. There's 8. Cube root of 8, cube root of 3. And then you write a big cube root sign. 8 times 3, 24. Alright, I think you're now ready for an exercise on lesson 2. So shortly we'll give you an exercise on lesson 2. Alright, here's a little exercise for lesson 2. Express as a single cell 5 root 2, number 1. Number 2, 10 root 2. Number 3, 3 cube root of 2. Number 4, 5 cube root of 3. You are required to express each one as a single cell. Alright, now you must switch off the DVD. Try them on your own, right? Try them on your own and then come back and we will mark them for you. Alright, best of luck. I hope you tried this exercise. Alright, let's mark them. So, the first one involves a square root. Therefore, I will take the 5 and square it. Take the 5 and square it, which means 5 times 5, and I get 25. So that's why I will write 25 here and put a square root sign on top of it. And then I've got 2. You see, 5 is the square root. The square root of 25 is 5. 5 is the square root of 25. So what we've written here is perfectly correct. And then this will be equal to, I can take this out now, square root of 25 times 2, 50. Right, let's do the next one. It's a square root sign. Therefore, I will take 10 and square it. You will take 10 and square it, which is 10 times 10, which is 100. Sorry, which is 100. So, 10 times 10 is 100. Square root of 100, square root of 6. Now these two are being multiplied. No multiplication sign here. It is understood. Understood means it's there but it's not written. So it's 100 times 6. You get square root of 600. Let's do the next one. Now be careful. In this example, it's a cube root. It's a cube root. Therefore, this 3 will have to be cubed. So it will be 3 cubed, which is 3 times 3 times 3, which finally gives you 27. So this is cube root of 27. Cube root of 27. Cube root of 2, which gives you 27 times 2, 54, and you must write the 3 because we're dealing with cube root. And finally, number 4, once again, study the sign. It is cube root. Therefore, I have to cube the 5. 5 times 5 times 5, which gives me 125. Cube root 3. And now these two numbers have to be multiplied. 125 times 3, which will give me cube root 125 times 3 will be cube root of 375. Alright, so that's the end of lesson 2, and I hope once again you've scored full marks in your exercise. If you haven't, don't lose hope, just go back, find your mistakes, redo the exercise till you score full marks in each exercise, because remember, these are only the basics. Alright, so that's the end of lesson 2. Hello, welcome back to lesson 3. In lesson 3, we are saying simplify. Simplify means you read the question and use any knowledge that you have and apply it to the example. For example, in this question we are saying simplify square root of 200 plus square root of 50. So when you look at this example here, you can see that you have square root of 200 plus square root of 50, and you can recall lesson 1 and say, well, I can break that up into mixed surds. So I can break them into mixed surds, you see. That was the first lesson we did. So this will become square root of 100 times 2 plus. This will become square root of 25 times 2. Remember, I'm breaking that into one perfect square and another factor. I'm breaking that into one perfect square and another factor. Right. Now, I can separate them and I can write them like that without a square root sign. Without a multiplication sign. I can separate them like that and write them without a multiplication sign. Now square root of 100 is 10. 10 root 2 plus square root of 25 is 5. 5 root 2. Now watch carefully. You got 10 root 2 plus 5 root 2. This is just like saying you got 10. This is just like saying you got 10a plus 5a. If you add 10a plus 5a, these are like terms and you can add them and the answer will be 15a. Then in the same way, square root of 2, square root of 2, they are like terms and you can add them up, and 10 plus 5 gives you 15 root 2. So that's what we mean by simplify. Alright, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to have a look at that and digest it. Example 2. Square root of 50 minus square root of 18. Square root of 50 minus square root of 18. Once again, when you look at the example, you realize that you can write this as mixed surds. So this becomes 25 times 2. Square root of 50, you break it up into a perfect square and another factor, minus. Break up the 18 into biggest possible perfect square, which is 9 times 2. And now, you can break this up. 25, square root of 2, I don't have to put a multiplication sign in between. Square root of 9, square root of 2. No need for multiplication sign in between. This becomes square root of 25 is 5 root 2 minus 3 root 2. Now this is like 5a minus 3a. Answer is 2a. Just like that, 5 root 2 minus 3 root 2 gives you 2 root 2. Alright, so we could give you anything, either to add them or subtract them or multiply or divide. Well, you look at each question and then decide what rule you can apply. Alright, let me give you a few more examples on simplification. Let's do number 3. Alright, so this one is square root of 2 times square root of 8. Well, if you want, you can write them without the multiplication sign. So you got root 2, root 8. Now, as long as there's a multiplication sign here or a division sign, multiplication or division, then you can multiply those two numbers or you can divide the two numbers. Now in this case, multiplication here. Multiplication is understood, so you can multiply the numbers. So you're going to multiply 2 times 8. If you multiply 2 times 8, you get 16. And when you look at 16, you say, oh, I know what the square root of 16 is. It is 4. So you have now simplified it and brought it down to 4. Right. So you will have to look at each question and then decide what to do. Let's look at number 4. In number 4, we got square root of 18 divided by square root of 2. Square root of 18 divided by square root of 2. Okay, so if it says division, you can divide those numbers. So it will become square root of 18 divided by 2. That becomes square root of 18 divided by 2, 9. And the square root of 9 is 3. Okay, so when there's multiplication and division, you can just multiply the numbers or you can just divide the numbers. Right? I'm going to do one more example, number 5. Let's just do number 5. Now be careful. Square root of 9, let's say 19 minus 3. Now in this case, it's very special. It's like BODMAS. You've got to do the subtraction first. 19 minus 3 gives you 16. You see? 19 minus 3 gives you 16. Square root of 16 is 4. Right? Let's just do another example. Square root of 4 minus 3. Once again, it's like BODMAS. You've got to do this 4 minus 3 first. So, square root of 4 minus 3 will give you square root of 1. Square root of 1 is 1. Alright, so that's what we mean by simplification. You could get various kinds of questions. Read each question and see what the question requires. Alright, shortly I'll give you an exercise based on this. Alright, welcome back. Here's exercise 3. In all these examples you have to simplify. Number 1, square root of 300 plus square root of 27. Number 2, cube root of 54 plus cube root of 16 minus cube root of 250. Number 3, square root of 18 times square root of 2. Number 4, square root of 500 divided by square root of 5. Alright, you must now stop the DVD, try them and come back and we will mark them for you. So go and try them. Yes, welcome. to come back and now we're going to work the examples out for you. So square root of 300, you break it up into square root of 100 times 3 plus square root of 27, you break it up into square root of 9 times 3. Now this becomes square root of 100, square root of 3 plus square root of 9, square root of 3. Square root of 100 is 10. So you have 10 root 3. Square root of 9 is 3. So you have 3 root 3. Now this is square root 3, this is square root 3. They are like terms, so you can add them up. So 10 plus 3 gives you 13 root 3. So that's the answer here. 13 root 3. I hope you had that right. Okay, now let's move on to number 2. Right, let's move on to number 2. Right, now we look at number 2. Cube root of 54 plus cube root of 16 minus cube root of 250. Right, so you look at 54 and you break it up. Well, that's cube root of 27 times 2 plus cube root of 16. You break it up into 8 times 2. Now you've got to know your perfect cubes. You've got to know your perfect cubes. If you don't know that, write it down or just work it out on your calculator later. Work it on your calculator, write it down on a page next to you. So that's the minus cube root of 250 will be 125 times 2. When I say work it out, I mean like this. If you don't know what are the perfect cubes yet, if you don't know it, you just work it out. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So you work it out like that and you get the whole list done. 127, for 4, 64, for 5 it's 125. So you do the list like that and then you'll be able to see them inside here. Right. So this will become cube root 27, cube root 2 plus cube root 8, cube root 2 minus cube root 125, cube root 2. Cube root 27, 3. So this is 3 cube root 2 plus cube root of 8 is 2. 2 cube root 2 minus cube root of 125 is 5. 5 cube root 2. Now this is cube root, cube root, cube root. 2, 2, 2. So they are like terms. Therefore 3 plus 2, 5. 5 minus 5, 0. 0 cube root 2, which is actually 0. So you have to break it up into mixed surds. Make sure that they're exactly the same. Cube root 2, cube root 2, cube root 2. Then you can add or subtract them. And, well, in this case, 3 plus 2, 5. 5 minus 5 gave you 0. 0 times that is 0. So that was number 2. And then we're going to move across to number 3 and number 4. But we'll just give you a few seconds to have a look at that and study it carefully. Right, so we're looking at square root of 18 times square root of 2. They are both square roots and therefore you can multiply them. It becomes square root of 18 times 2 becomes 36. You see, 18 times 2, 36. But square root of 36 you know is 6. If you don't know, check on the calculator.